very important, very specific issue about the Middle East. How do Palestinian issue and Israel settlement affect Israeli relationship with Arab states?
It really depends on how this war ends. Obviously, it causes tension because of the sympathies that many people across the Middle East have for the Palestinians, which is understandable. But at the same time, there's hardcore geostrategic interests that affect Saudi Arabia, affect the United Arab Emirates, affect Bahrain, Morocco, and other countries, and they don't want Hamas to win. And they know that Israel is one of the main forces in the region that confronts Iran. So they don't want Iran to emerge from this powerful.
Mr. David, you know the Abraham Accords bring peace to Middle East. In future, Abraham Accord change the Israeli relationship with Arab countries. Do you see in future Saudi Arabia, USA, and Israel will be together?
Yes, I think it's an inevitability. Their strategic and long-term interests are flowing together so closely that I think that you may have bumps on the road, one of which was, in my view, the Biden administration was too hostile to the Saudi Arabian government, and therefore Saudi Arabia doesn't necessarily want to make peace under the Biden administration, but I think the long-term trend is there toward peace.
You know, there is a reality. Iran and Saudi Arabia shape Israel alliances with Arab states. You know, this is a very powerful, these things. What would you say about this?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why Iran encouraged its ally or proxy Hamas to attack on October 7th. I think Iran was very concerned about the tightening relations and friendliness that was emerging around the Abraham alliance and the potential of adding Saudi Arabia to it. So I think it on one level did October 7th in order to derail and sabotage that movement. Ironically, in the long run, I think it will encourage the movement rather than sabotage it. But again, that depends on how Israel wraps up this war.
Political, economic relation between Saudi Arabia and American, it is very important. Already, Saudi Arabia has a lot of concerns about Iran proxies. What would you say about this?
No, they have many concerns. I mean, the Israelis are being attacked by the Houthis, but the Houthis are primarily an enemy of Saudi Arabia. They're also ultimately an enemy of Egypt. Egypt fought one war in Yemen. These are close-in strategic concerns for Saudi Arabia and Egypt, even more than for Israel. But moreover, it's also a problem for the United States. The United States is defining itself around freedom of navigation of the high seas.
Yes.
And here you have a situation where it can't keep the Bab el-Mandeb Straits open, and this concerns Saudi Arabia. They can't get their oil out through the Suez Canal. Trade coming from Europe can't easily get to Jeddah or other ports in Saudi Arabia. It's a very serious issue.
There's also play the role of Russian government and Chinese government in this conflict. They want to engage Americans in this conflict.
Well, I think that Saudi Arabia turned to some extent to China and even lowered its rhetoric against Russia, partly because it saw the United States, sadly as an American I say, was seen weak and undependable as an ally. We weren't a good ally. And Saudi Arabia understands that as a very dangerous strategic failure. It would intervene with Iran to lower the threat from Iran, which is why they reached out to China. I'm not sure that succeeded. Ultimately, the Saudis want the United States to be strong.
Authoritarian regimes, Iran and China, Russia and North Korea is a real danger for the world peace?
I think that they're trying to change the world order, which we've known since World War II, which isn't just American power. It's also the rules and laws and international structures that have defined the world. And borders. So I think that there's a great deal of concern that Russia is destabilizing Europe. China can become a hegemon in Asia, and Iran is trying to establish its hegemony over the Middle East. And that's causing many countries to be quite concerned and hoping that the United States steps up, but it isn't. So the further this goes, these are ultimately countries that are flawed and have problems, these three. But unrestrained or without challenge, they can dominate regions. And I think that's what you're seeing is the real source of the instability and war right now in the Middle East.